Go.
I'm ready.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for being here today. It is so lovely to meet you. Please tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Um, yeah, hiya. My name's Mark. I'm 60 years old. I live in Cambridge with my family. Well, my grown-up kids are at university and beyond. So it's just me and my wife at the moment and our little dog.
Oh,
Um,
and
and
I've been lucky enough to see the dog. Feel free to bring him on.
Timmy, come here. Hopefully hopefully no one will come for the dog. This is Toby, our parcel Jet Russell, and a
Hello.
lovely little dog he is too.
Oh. So, the reason why we're here today talking is we're going to talk a bit about transcendental meditation. What is it and what got you into it and how has it changed your life, Mark?
Um, okay, so what is it? I think it's different things to different people. In all honesty,
Yeah.
if you read the website, the TM website, it suggests one thing, um, and they don't tell you a huge amount because you have to pay a certain amount of money for the training. Um, but if you read their website, it tends to have some sort of spiritual link,
Mm.
not necessarily religious, but some sort of spiritual undertones. And I personally don't believe that it's any of that or needs to be any of that.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it's purely a physical, medicinal thing,
Mm.
and has no link to anything else.
Mhm.
So for me, it's a it's a method of healing myself. Actually,
Yeah.
is exactly what it's doing. It's
It's
like it's yeah.
it's interesting because with meditation for me, I see it as a tool. It's a tool in the toolbox to be able to align yourself to you, to like the truth of the person of you, being able to cut out the drama, step inside and be able to, it's almost a tool to control your emotions and not let your emotions control you. Would you say that's a good way of putting it?
I'd say that's a very yeah, that is. I think. Oh, hang on, about here you are. Yeah, no, I think that's a very good way of putting it. It does put you back in control.
Because I think a lot of
Um,
people, they tend to think with meditation, we're all sat in sort of a yogi position, switch off. And I do practice Kundalini yoga, so I do actually do that. But you don't
right.
need to do that to actually go into a state of meditation. But it is interesting because for a lot of people who have, I get a lot of people that go, "Oh, Maria, I've tried meditation and it didn't work for me." But for me, I don't know about you, meditation is much like learning to ride a bike. You don't get it the
Mm.
first time, and it requires practice for you to be able to discipline yourself, to be able to go within and shut the noise out. I don't know what your experience is, but I'd love to hear it.
I think that's absolutely right. It is something that takes time, and I think you need to have some reason to want to take that time.
Mm,
And in my case, and coming back to me saying that that the TM website doesn't give you much clue because you need to pay for training. The reality is that you do need to go through that course or something similar,
mm,
because it does take time.
mm,
And so mine was a week long, 1 hour a day course, sat with people in a room, and even after that, still not really getting it.
mm,
But certainly got the instances of realization of what it is and what more it could be. But I did it at the request really of the company I was working for. Everybody in that company in New Zealand was offered to go through the training, and most did. Um,
yeah.
it was viewed as a good thing to do, and everybody was doing it, and there's a bit of peer pressure, and so we used to actually come back after in the afternoon. We used to have sessions in the company where everybody who wanted to would go into a room and meditate together.
Which is incredible. It's incredible. And going back to, like going on this week course, what it does is it gives you the structure, doesn't it? So you
Yeah.
know the tools to be able to use them to practice it when you go away. It's not like a quick fix. It's something that you need to practice. And, for you, I love this. And when you wrote into me and you said, I've got this story about when I was in New
Yeah.
Zealand in a group of us
Yeah.
did it. How did that change your working environment? How did it change productivity? What was your personal experience of yourself and seeing how it changed others around you?
Well, at that time, I enjoyed my job. I had a bit of stress, not a huge amount of stress, and I did it, the meditation, with these other people. Some fell asleep. The older ones tended to fall asleep. Everybody enjoyed it, but I don't think anybody there was in a particularly stressful job. In all honesty,
Mm,
not like the two owners of the business.
yeah.
Who obviously were in very stressful jobs. It was
Mhm.
a software development company with all sorts of cash flow issues and one thing or another. So
Yeah.
they would have felt the benefit more perhaps than us. But then I was given the job of going to sell the system in Southeast Asia, and having never been a salesman before and selling to sort of higher ups in oil companies and one thing or another. It was very, very stressful, and that was the first time I did really used it. I guess that was several months after I had my training.
Yeah.
And so I would be going to these presentations to these oil companies, having never really
Yeah.
never done presenting before, and never really never done sales before.
Mm.
And it was a stressful time, in Singapore and Hong Kong and these sort of strange places. And I used to use it all the time then. And I was only 30 back then, and I used to I remember, in the hotel room, but before a meeting, I'd feel stressed, and I'd close my eyes, meditate 20 minutes, and have all the wonderful benefits of that,
Yeah.
and the real feeling of soothing. And I sort of call it my hot tub moment, where you
Yeah.
sort of immerse your body in a hot tub of relief.
Yeah.
And I used to come out after 20 minutes, open my eyes, and my eyes would be completely red. They'd be absolutely bloodshot.
Mm.
Um, and it's quite nice to have a sort of physical manifestation of it.
So
And
that proof of it actually doing something throughout your
yeah,
body. Yeah.
yeah. And I didn't go to sleep back then. I tend to go to sleep with it now
Yeah.
as I get older, but back then I didn't. So I was, conscious throughout.
Hmm.
And this wonderful soothing feeling that I have when I do it, even now, before it tips me into sleep. You know,
So
um,
would you be, I know because a lot of people who watch this will be like, oh, what do you do? Is there anything specific or that you could lead us through that you actually do yourself on a daily basis to be able to keep this sense of peace and in those moments of stress, or when you just need to switch off and go to bed at night? Because insomnia is a huge problem for a lot of people. Is there a certain routine that you stick to? And could you give us an example of that, please, Mark?
well, this is the other thing, the other difference between TM and me, because
Mm,
TM suggests twice a day, 20 minutes, and that's fine. I don't dispute that, but it becomes a chore.
yeah,
Um,
it's
so I
about,
only I only do it when I feel the need for it.
yes, it's about using the toolbox as and when you need it,
Yeah,
and not forgetting that
yeah,
it's there. That's what I tell myself. I'm like, hang on a minute, I've
yeah.
got some tools for this.
Yes, and I think this is probably what puts a lot of people off TM, is that you see this, and I saw a documentary on TM once, and I think there's a village set up where people go there to do TM and nothing else, and they live there, and they all do it together, and they sort of jump cross-legged on the floor and stuff, and I don't understand all of that. um,
But that's
but
the beauty of it, isn't it? It's
yeah,
taking skills and implementing them into your everyday life. You don't have to completely immerse yourself in. And I know from sort of courses that I've done in the past, people become almost like so regimented in their actions towards things. And I really do believe in this. It's like the sweet shop or the toolbox, whatever way you want to look at it. You take what you need at the time and you convert it into something that is actually more functional for your daily life. It's personal to you. So what's right for you isn't necessarily right for someone else, how someone else chooses to do it.
No, that's right. That's exactly right.
Which things shouldn't be so stringent.
Well, no, that's right, absolutely. And of course, when they are stringent and conformist, then it becomes something else, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Then it does become a religion, which it's not that at all, So I agree. It's a very, very useful tool. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of it. It's saved my life in many instances where I know that had I not got this tool, I would have failed. I've run my own businesses and had a lot of responsibilities since those days. That back then it was just the stress of being a new salesman and having to do presentations and close deals. But it's since become much more responsibility. And without it, I honestly don't think I would have got through. You hear stories of people sort of just crumbling and going to bed for a week, having breakdowns and stuff. I think I would have been perceptible to that. I think had I not got this tool.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is just only my opinion. Obviously, it's not an opinion of a professional person who deals with mental health, if you like. But I do believe if people were more aware of what's actually out there as skills to be able to help themselves, it would allow them to take more responsibility for their own health and actually help them come back to themselves and help to align them, and help to lift them a lot more, because they have to feel more in control of their lives, in control of their emotions, and as if life isn't controlling them and everything's out of control. So I'm really keen for you to share some of the things that you've learned or give examples, and then, perhaps, if you're comfortable to do a meditation, or whether you could recommend, like any apps that you use or anyone in particular you could recommend in terms of referrals to where people can look for more information.
Okay.
On the spot, Mark.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they say when you do the TM training, and I'm going back 30 years here. This is a closed shop. You can't reveal it because you will be it's sacrosanct not to, and you have to pay. Back then it was £600 or something. But listen, I've adapted it to be something else, and I'm very happy to talk to you about those adaptations.
I mean, I think looking at things like, do you use breathing techniques, for instance?
No, sure. Well, I mean, TM. It's one quick Google search will tell you that TM is only about a mantra and nothing else, absolutely nothing else. And that is the success of it, because it's so simple and so uncomplicated. It doesn't even deserve a website or whatever else, all these sort of religious descriptions about it. It's so simple as to be. And I just did a quick look online before, and I gather the US Justice Supreme Court said no, it can't be taught in schools because it has a religious undertones, but it doesn't. It's just literally it's
the mantra language has a connotation and a connection with certain sounds that resonate with the souls and certain aspects of life, whether it's like, I see the truth within me, I see the truth before me, But, is an interesting subject, religion, and that's a big topic to go on to for another time.
No, sure. Today. I'm not religious at all.
Yeah.
And this is purely physiological. There's nothing else to it at all. But it's literally saying a word over and over again. They give you a word. I
Mm.
can't tell you what that word is,
Yeah.
but because I'm not allowed to. But
Yeah.
it's two-syllable, and it's not English.
Yeah.
It's probably Indian. I don't know. And it's very easy to say, and
Mm.
you could probably make your own if you really wanted to.
I mean,
Um,
I use mantras and the meditation practice attached to Kundalini yoga, and
right.
their roots go back to, I mean, anywhere where it wasn't really invaded in the Great Wars and conquest seemed to have, this protected wisdom, if you like. And there's so many different areas that had different mantric languages. But some came from India, and anywhere, the side of the Himalayas, anywhere that was kind of unaffected by war for longer periods of time. They were much more what seemed to be more, I wouldn't say developed souls in a way of like being able to connect with nature and not having the stresses of life, because they had everything before them. They didn't have the worries of a war-torn country, for instance. So it was
Yeah.
a very different kind of life, and they were very sacred people, and they would practice yogic movements, for instance, that were actually, a lot of them come from animals, and learning
Right.
from animals, and actually how animals learn to deal with stress. They would watch and they would observe. So if an animal had a fight or an uncomfortable situation, they'd naturally shake their body, or if
Mm.
they've been sleeping, they would stretch, because they were realigning the energy or the muscles, whatever way you want to look at it, in the body, to get that equilibrium back. And
Mm.
mantric language was like, depending what way you can look at it, you can look at it from a spiritual connection way, you can look at it from an alignment way of certain sounds. And there's mass research that goes into sound cellular research, which is all about realigning specific organs and functions in the body through sound alone. And there's the ancient wisdom of like Kotatama, which is the secret language of the gods, but they all have these very similar vowel sounds. They all have
Right.
certain sounds. And I imagine,
Mm.
because I don't know a lot about transcendental meditation at all, so I don't claim
Right.
to, but I imagine that they resonate with these very similar vowel sounds, which are all connected with aligning your physiology, your metaphysiology. There's so many different aspects of your body, and you can go into things like your fundamental note, which there's lots of sound cellular research out there that suggests that there's a specific note within each of us, like sound, which can actually resonate and heal our bodies. That's another topic. But
Right.
for you, it's really interesting because you sense and feel and have a physical reaction of actually performing this mantra, going into this meditative state, and actually seeing a physical reaction. You mentioned the eyes, you mentioned that, it is actually been in instances in your life where it's saved you, because it's been the life raft in the water of a stormy sea, where you've been able to ride the waves
Yeah.
of joy, without going under and sinking into the depths of depression. And that is
Well, no, I need to. I just. It's not depression. It's actually just
life.
in a bit in a well, yes, inability to cope with a particular situation
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you're panicked
Mm,
with running a
mm,
business and having the responsibility of lots of people to look after, and you know cash flows is a good example, where you're faced with a multitude of potential issues that could,
mm.
a perfect storm could result in disaster.
Yeah.
And when you're tired, and you might have a headache or a stomach ache or whatever, and as I do sometimes, and you're
Mm,
tired, and you see the things that can go wrong, and you can see the things that can go right. It's very tempting to look at the things that can go wrong.
mm,
Um, and so what? what's so good about this for me is in the past has been that it's been possible
Mm.
to do a reset, and after 20 minutes you come back and you look at what can go wrong in a new light of how it can also go right. And that's what I mean about is saved me. So what I'm saying
Yeah,
is that it's not. I'm not talking about mental. I'm not actually talking about mental health issues. I'm just
yeah,
talking about. I'm talking about sort of, I suppose, severe stress
yeah,
disabling someone to the point where they're ineffective completely,
yeah,
and will choose the low risk, easy out solution instead
yeah,
of the right solution.
yeah.
Um, and so I gave an example of people going to bed for a week or whatever. I know that is what depression is as well. I'm not, and I suppose what I'm doing is just
Yeah, you're
I'm
not
not I'm
saying
not
this
I'm
is
not
a
I'm not
cure for mental health,
yes,
you know.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying that in my case it saved me from a mental breakdown. I
yeah,
suppose
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying is that it saved me from making catastrophic decisions that would have meant that I would have wound a business up, for instance, instead of
yeah,
persevering for another few months
yeah,
to 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 see the way forwards. So that's what I'm talking about, really, more than anything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's learning to sail the seas, calm seas, or
Yes.
still
No, that's
feeling
right.
calm in the storm, if you like, whatever way to put it.
And to be honest, I have also, when it comes to the sound, yes, I mean it's very interesting what you say, and I as I say, I'm not I'm not extolling the virtues of the spirituality or whatever this thing is, or it's a nice sounding word, but that's all that it is to me. And to be honest, I think other words would probably do it, but I don't want to mess. I don't want to mess with the. I don't
It's
want to mess with it in case
it,
there's more to it than I realize. In case there is
yeah,
a spiritual link to it, I don't want to. I don't
yeah.
want to be. I don't want to be condemned by these gods. If they exist.
To round this up, Mark, because I love it. It's really interesting talking to you, and I love to get different viewpoints as well. Because I think, like I said to you at the start, I think a lot of people think you have to be going, to meditate, and you don't. You really, really don't. It's a lot about taking time for yourself, finding things that work for you to help you through life. In terms of finding that calm, that peace, that switch off. And for
Yeah.
some people, meditating might be a walk in the woods, you know?
Well, I mean, I will tell you what it is that I do, and I'd be fascinated to hear what you do, but because I think that this is so apparently so different to what I've heard elsewhere.
Mm,
The key to this is that you literally relax every single bit of your body.
mm,
Um, you're sitting down or lying down or whatever. In fact, they do advise not to lie down because you go to sleep, but I like to go to sleep. So that's another sort of adaptation. Um, but there's only one muscle in your body which actually is unrelaxable, and that is your heart.
yeah.
And I I I I I have quite a strong heartbeat. I can feel it. If I'm sitting in a chair,
Mm,
I can feel it. I can feel the blood pumping.
mm,
And if I'm really quiet and really calm and relaxed, completely relaxed, I can feel it just
mm,
very lightly pumping here and also in my
mm,
temples. And I use that combined with the mantra to sort of, because your heart is, you've relaxed every bit of your body, but you can't relax your heart. Although you feel no effort with your heart, for some reason your heart muscle, if you tense any muscle in your body, it's tiring. Your brain, especially your brain muscles, you don't realize it, but it's tiring.
mm.
But your heart, you never feel tired with your heart, do you? And I mean, it's a medical thing that I've never really sort of thought more about, but the reality is that muscle is working hard all the time.
Mm.
And so I use it. So what I do is I bounce my mantra off my heart with the beat, and I let that heartbeat push the mantra through my body.
Yes.
Um, and I first of all take it to my stomach, and invariably everybody has just a little bit of grumble in their tummy sometimes, if it's a bug or if they've eaten too much or something. And just feel that okay, there's a bit of relief there now. And then the most particular place is the bridge of my nose, where and I read somewhere that that there's two parts of your body that kind of control the antibodies for killing germs or something. One is the bridge of your nose up here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a good blood flow here in order for your antibodies to work, and
Mm-hmm.
also your ankles, strangely. But I don't know. I read that somewhere, and that just struck a chord. And I do get tremendous relief in my nose, the bridge of my nose. I don't know whether it's a sort of genetic thing where I've got a kind of Roman nose. I know my dad had sort of nasal type issues. It could be a Chesterman thing. Is that our noses are in effect, they so what the sensation I get anyway when I do this mantra, and I sort of off the heart and the blood pumping, and I sort of connect the nose and the stomach with this mantra,
Mm-hmm.
and I get literally a widening of the vessels in here, and I can hear them clicking. So
Yeah,
because
you're
it's because,
amazingly in tune with your body, which is
well,
incredible.
because it's so close to my ears, I
Mm.
can actually hear them go popping, and
Yeah.
then I feel that the airways are clearing, and I can
Yeah.
breathe more easily. And that's a major physical manifestation of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I push it out to my ears and my temples, um, and I get this kind of there's no noise involved, but I get this rush of blood or something,
Mm.
which is which feels like it's all been tensed up. So I'm so tense that my muscles are stopping the blood flow in my head.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think something like that. And so
Yeah.
and so that's and I do that, and then the sort of if I'm tired, my unconscious will take over, and I'll start to. This is the other wonderful thing, is that I can feel myself going to sleep.
Yeah.
I sense it. It's a
Something is,
journey.
it's a wave.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I will all of a sudden think of something which is not of this earth, just some object which is just deformed or whatever. It's like, well, hang on,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Okay, I know what's happening. I'm falling asleep, and then bang, I'm gone.
This is brilliant. For anybody who wants to know more about transcendental meditation, you said about this TM site. Is there a site that you could recommend to anybody to go to for more information? So I can put that down in the comments as well, so people can find out more research.
Yeah, it is. The actual official website is called uk.tm.org,
Brill.
and you'll see a picture of what's his name, the yogi guy, Mahesh Yogi.
Yeah.
But I just emphasize, don't be put off by any of that, because I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think it's, the Beatles went there, and you know Paul McCartney is a big exponent of it, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
it's just literally allowing your brain to stop working just for a few seconds. And
Yeah.
if you stop your brain working, the mantra basically, it's so boring that it forces you to think of
Gives you
nothing.
that focus. It does. It
Is
draws
what it's is.
you to focus.
Yeah. Well, this is your method.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
going to talk to you about that off
yeah.
camera, because I'm going to talk to you about a few things you said. So thank you so much for being here
Okay.
today and sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or like a top tip from you that helps you to meditate? Helps you find that time perhaps for yourself. Is there anything in particular that you do that you could recommend to other people?
I think what I would say is that when you're caught up in a lot of stress and you've got stuff to deal with urgently, um, ask yourself the question: what impact will that have if I leave it for 20 minutes? Because if you do that and you come out 20 minutes later, I promise you, you'll be much more able to cope with whatever it is that you're dealing with.
Yeah, amazing advice. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. I'm going to
Thank you.
stop the recording here.